What's up, everybody? And today we got a video called How the Humvee Compares to the New Oshkosh JLTV. That is the Joint Light Tactical Vehicle. This is the new vehicle that's been taking over the Humvee in the US military. This is by Military TV. As always, I will leave a link down below in the description. Very good channel. You should go and check them out, subscribe to them and all that good stuff. Very excited to watch this. I don't know much about either vehicle, to be honest with you. Obviously, I just used Land Rovers and a few other different vehicles in the British military. So this is going to be new to me on both sides of both the Humvee and the JLTV. So yeah, I'm excited to see this. Excited to see where they're going with their next vehicle. Do I need to say anything before we get started? Check out Morale, my new business, down below. And I think you'll be very excited for it. Anyway, let's shut up. Let's pull this up and let's see what's going on.
You're watching the channel Military TV.
Again, go over to Military TV and give them some support. They're a very good channel. They give out good information.
Venerable Humvee was the first fielded to combat units in the mid-1980s. It had impressive mobility. It was fast and extremely reliable. But beginning in 2004, the vehicle that was designed for the European battlefield began to struggle when it faced a determined Iraqi insurgency that fought with improvised explosive devices, or IEDs.
We did see quite a shift. We did see quite a shift in what the vehicles were being designed for during the Iraq-Afghan war. Like, we started to see a lot more guards to stop RPGs. We started to see a lot more under-armored vehicles. And so it makes sense that they had to adapt to this.
Soon, images of burnt-out, twisted Humvees became a symbol of America's struggle to cope with a new, horrific type of warfare. The military eventually replaced many Humvees with heavy-duty vehicles called MRAPs, designed specifically to withstand roadside bombs.
So here we go. This is exactly what I say. These rails here prevent RPGs from hitting. What would happen is if an RPG hit them, it would actually get stuck in them rails. And if you know anything about RPGs, they have to hit the point to explode. And so if it got stuck, it would sometimes prevent it from exploding. You also notice that the bottoms of the vehicles are like, they go outwards. And again, if any explosions come up, it would deflect as much as possibly can away from the vehicle. Again, this is just another example of how, you know, both the US and the UK had to adapt to this new style of warfare.
But they were slow, top-heavy, and had limited capability off-road. While many short-term efforts to protect troops were launched, the Pentagon was determined to develop a long-lasting solution. It first approved the Joint Light Tactical Vehicle, JLTV, as a program of record in 2006.
It looks like an absolute beast of a vehicle, doesn't it? Very high up. Massive tires, which makes sense. Doesn't look like a lot of visibility. But again, you got to trade that visibility with defense, haven't you?
It took almost a decade for the JLTV to become a reality, but in August 2015, Oshkosh Corporation was selected over Lockheed Martin Corporation and AM General LLC to build the JLTV for the Army and the Marine Corps.
Interesting that they beat someone like Lockheed Martin. That's a big one, but I don't know much about this brand. They might be like absolutely dominant in this area of expertise.
A program that could exceed $30 billion to meet the current joint service requirement.
Jeez.
After over 3 decades of faithful service, the United States Army and Marine Corps are replacing the AM General Humvee in frontline service with the Oshkosh JLTV. Although Humvees will continue to serve behind the scenes with the Army and Marines until 2050, the new...
Yeah, so people are aware, like, we still have like old Land Rovers in the British military because it's one of them vehicles where there's always a use case for it. It might get to the point at the very end of its life where it's stuck on base and it just helps people get things from A to B, right? It's in the training exercises just to help staff move things from one area to the other, right? Like, these vehicles, if they're still running, they're going to be used. They might end up being used on the firing range at the very end of it, right? So the Humvee, just like the Land Rover Defender, what we had in the military, it's going to be around for a long time. It's what they're using actually in operations that's going to change.
The new JLTV is as much as a technology leap over the Humvee as the Humvee was to the Jeep-like Ford M151 before it.
So cool.
It's not just that JLTV can easily negotiate any type of terrain and is many times more reliable than any comparable vehicle. but it can take a hit from enemy small arms, machine guns, or rockets and keep fighting. That core requirement of its design emerged from a decade of fighting insurgents in Southwest Asia, where the Army constantly encountered threats that nobody had expected, like improvised explosive devices under the vehicle or shaped charges striking from above.
Sounds like a beast, doesn't it?
According to RealClearDefense.com, the JLTV is designed to be a partial replacement for the venerable high-mobility multi-purpose wheeled vehicle, or Humvee. With
I wonder if we're going to get any stats on engine size and stuff.
a more powerful engine than the Humvee, the JLTV is able to regain the mobility and speed that were lost when the Humvees were up-armored in order to add protection against IEDs.
Makes sense.
The JLTV is intended to perform a range of missions, including moving supplies and personnel, and serving as a platform for close combat weapons such as anti-tank guided missiles and heavy guns. JLTV is a big program.
It is also a very big vehicle, isn't it? And so I'm wondering what the dimension size. I want to know all the numbers behind this. What's the turning circle like compared to a Humvee? What's the ease of fixing when you're on the ground compared to a Humvee? Is it something that's easy to be adapted to certain different things, right? Is it quicker? Has it got more power? Is it able to pull things out when they're stuck better than the Humvee? These are all things I want to know as well. Storage size, armor capability, a lot there. And a lot of people don't know this. The last year of my time in the Royal Marines, I got trained as a Royal Marine driver, and we were doing all sorts of crazy stuff. Learning how to waterproof certain vehicles, dropping people off in the ocean with vehicles. Like, we were doing all sorts of crazy stuff. And so I'm very, like, ticked on to what requirements a vehicle needs for it to be a good bit of kit for the military.
The Army recently announced that it was advancing the JLTV to full-rate production and plans to replace around half its Humvees, around 49,000 vehicles, with JLTVs.
That's a lot.
The Marine Corps decided to nearly double the size of their planned procurement of JLTVs from 9,000 to around 15,000, completely replacing their current inventory of Humvees. Moreover, the JLTV has already achieved initial operational capabilities with the Marines 2 years ahead of schedule. The JLTV is based around Oshkosh's TAK-4I, I for Intelligent, Independent Suspension System. Around 26,000 military vehicles are fitted with an earlier version of the system, these including the Oshkosh Medium Tactical Vehicle Replacement, Oshkosh Logistic Vehicle System Replacement.
Oh, look at that. So they're actually getting the information on the inside of what they need to move the Oh, that's really good. They've also got a button down here for power management, which is interesting. Obviously, all the usual stuff that you would expect with a vehicle like this. What's that? Trailer air supply down there. Emergency something for the trailer. Parking brake. This is exactly the same parking brake that was on my school bus that I had in America when I traveled the country.
And Oshkosh MRAP all-terrain vehicle. The TAK-4 system has also been retrofitted to the Force Protection Incorporated Cougar and BAE Systems RG-33 MRAPs. The majority of systems to date have been coil-sprung. The TAK-4I version fitted to the JLTV remains undisclosed, but is not coil-sprung and is of the variant adjustable ride height type with up to 20 inches, 51 centimeters of wheel travel, 25% more than the current standard.
It's really cool. The good thing about a coil one is if something happens, you can do certain things to get it out of a bad situation. And so, again, like I've spoke about with other vehicles, the more technology you put into something, and we've spoke about this from aircraft to the scopes that are being put on the new SIG rifles, the more technology you put into something, there's more things that can go wrong. And when you're on the front line, you don't want anything to go wrong. And so my worry is the more technology that goes into these vehicles, the more the more knowledge is needed to fix it. You think about them classic Jeeps that, I don't know if you saw, during World War II, they would literally flat pack them and airdrop them in, and they would build them there and then behind enemy lines and then start driving them. Like, that's how simple them vehicles were. And there's almost a beauty to the simplicity of something like that. There's almost a use case for something that's so simple like that. And I'm worried that the more advanced we go, the more easier one little technological thing that breaks would just brick the whole thing. Does that make sense? And I'm sure it's the US military. I'm sure they thought of all these things. They're not going to overlook the simple things. I'm sure of it. Or I'd like to hope so. And so I wonder how they're going to cope with all that stuff.
The JLTV's suspension-aided egress system capability levels side to side and front to rear on slopes or grades when selected by the operator. The front and rear suspension height can also be independently controlled for ship and transportability.
Wow.
The suspension system has ride height control at all 4 wheels.
It uses a Duramax V8 engine, much like you would find in a Silverado or a Sierra pickup truck. That's actually been
so it's a good engine then.
modified by Gale Banks for any of you NASCAR fans. And then we use an Allison modified transmission as well. So
Allison transmissions are some of the best as well. In fact, I had one of them in the bus as well in the school bus. It wouldn't surprise me if this was any different than the engine I had, than the whole setup of the interior what I had in my school bus. Obviously, it wasn't a V8, but still, like Allison transmission, all that, they're very reliable.
to the max extent possible, we used a lot of commercial technologies with the powertrain, etc.
Oh my God, look at that thing. Let me turn that down a bit. Oh my God. I did not have that in the bus. Can you imagine? Wow. That's a good bit of kit. So it's got the power.
Power is provided by a digitally controlled Gale Banks Engineering 866T V8 diesel. This based on the architecture of the General Motors Duramax LML. Power output is 340 horsepower.
Okay.
In commercial use, power output of the standard Duramax LML engine is currently up to 397 horsepower,
That
296 kilowatts at 3,000 RPM. Production of the Duramax LML engine concluded in 2017, the unit replaced by the Duramax LP5. JLTV A1 models that were introduced in 2017 are powered by a derivation of this engine. An Allison 2500 SP 6-speed fully automatic transmission is fitted.
So yeah, they've covered the base with that stuff. I wonder if it's, and again, going back to the technology thing, and I'm going to make a comparison to the scope that has been put on the new SIG rifle. And if you've not watched some videos about how cool the new scope is, it can do everything. It can predict the drop of the round and a certain distance, everything. Now let's compare the two. And I know you're thinking, what the hell are you talking about? If the electronics in that scope goes down, it can be used as a standard scope, right? With no electric, no battery, it can just be used as a scope. With this vehicle, if electronics break, does it brick it? Or is it going to basically downgrade itself to a very physical, you turn a key, it starts the engine without any other bells and whistles, right? Is it going to still move if that screen inside gets smashed, or if a round gets deflected through it? If a bit of the electronics on the inside gets shot, is it going to brick the vehicle, or are you going to be able to keep going? That's the questions I have. Good bit of kit, though, isn't it?
The JLTV has been designed to comply with the U.S. Army's long-term armor strategy. The long-term armor strategy system follows an A-kit, B-kit principle, with vehicles designed fitted for, but not with, protection. Protection kits can be installed and uninstalled from vehicles in the field using only basic tools.
I like that. I like that a lot.
The A-kit is fitted on the production line and is a combination of a limited amount of armoring in difficult-to-access areas of the vehicle, together with a significant amount of armor installation attachments and required support structures. The bulk of the armor, the B-kit, is installed in the field on an as-required basis.
Now, just quickly looking at this, it does look like a bare minimum setup plus a display. If you look at it, doesn't it? It looks like very bare minimum, analog, physical buttons, and then there's that display there to give you extra information. And my presumption, and I'm presuming here, is that it is a very bare minimum vehicle, and then they've got this display, and it's maybe plugged into some sort of diagnosis port or some sort of modified port to be able to change certain things like the suspension and stuff. But I'm also presuming if that was turned off, the vehicle would still start and run. Just by looking on the inside, and I'm throwing out predictions here that may be complete rubbish, but I'm hoping they're not.
2 soldiers can install B-kit armor in 5 hours.
That's good.
An 800-pound RPG protection kit can be installed in 2 hours at field-level maintenance and completed by the crew within 30 minutes.
That's brilliant. That's really good.
The JLTV offers protection levels greater than those of up-armored Humvee and comparable to those of the original MRAP class designs.
Wow.
But an overall vehicle package that is considerably smaller and lighter than vehicles procured under the U.S. Marines MRAP procurement.
That's really cool.
The benefits of the A-kit, B-kit principle are that armor is only fitted when required, reducing vehicle wear and tear and, by default, whole life cycle costs.
Yeah, because you're taking weight off it and stuff like that. That makes total sense. Makes total sense. And again, being able to adapt in the military is everything. And so having a vehicle that you can change certain parts, you can add stuff, take stuff off, make it lighter, make it more protected, whatever you need to do, like depending on the scenario. Brilliant. Brilliant.
Improvements and/or upgrades to armor are also far easier to integrate into an applique solution.
Yes.
No quantity for JLTV armoring kits has yet been disclosed, but it's anticipated that the estimated $65,000 kits will be procured on a 1-kit to 3 vehicle basis. The overall protection will include a spall liner to minimize perforation effects within a vehicle when the vehicle takes hostile fire.
Interesting.
The JLTV also has an automatic fire extinguishing system to protect the crew cabin. Fuel tanks are mounted externally and shielded by the JLTV structure.
That's cool.
Each crew seat has a combined seat and blast restraint device. Ingress time for a crew of 4 in combat equipment is 30 seconds or less.
Wow.
Egress with B-kit doors is within 10 seconds. The only weight-related data officially released includes a gross vehicle weight of 10,266 kilograms. Payload for the 2-door variant is quoted
That's pretty decent, isn't it? That's pretty decent.
as 2,318 kilograms. Payload for the 4-door variant is quoted at 1,590 kilograms. The USMC require a vehicle that can be transported by their current and planned systems.
Yep.
In April 2009, Marine Corps Command General James Conway warned that the Marines will not buy a vehicle that is 20,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Requirements called for the cabin heater to raise the crew compartment temperature from negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit, negative 40 degrees Celsius, to 65 degrees Fahrenheit, 18 degrees Celsius in 1 hour. The air
Wow.
conditioner should drop the temperature from 120 degrees Fahrenheit, 49 degrees Celsius, to 90 degrees Fahrenheit.
So all these stats are really, really good. We have to remember, this isn't like, we're not driving a robot here. This needs to be, it needs to be solid from the basics. And having all these extra bells and whistles are brilliant. They're really good and they do help a lot. Again, as long as they are in working order.
32 degrees Celsius within 40 minutes. The JLTV was to be equipped with a diagnostic monitoring system that will electronically alert the operator of equipment failures so
I'm presuming that's that screen that I was saying, probably just plugged into a diagnostic port.
that they can be fixed. The electronic monitoring will observe the fuel, air intake, engine, cooling, transmission, energy storage, power generation, and vehicle speed, as well as other systems. JLTV is transportable by sea, rail, and air. The JLTV is transportable on all classes of ocean-going transport ships with minimal disassembly. It was required to be rail transportable on CONUS and NATO country railways. Air transportability will be by fixed-wing aircraft as large or larger than the C-130 Hercules,
Yeah.
and sling-loadable with rotary-wing aircraft such as the CH-47 or MH-47 and CH-53.
Wow.
The proposed ambulance variant was to be air-droppable by C-5 and C-17 fixed-wing aircraft.
Air droppable?
The JLTV can be prepared in 30 minutes for transport by aircraft, maritime prepositioning for ships, or rail. This is aided by an adjustable height suspension.
Great video. Make sure you go over to Military TV. If you're not a subscriber already, it'll be down in the description below. Go over there. They gave some really good information and a lot of information they didn't need to give and just kind of added, you know, a little bit of icing on the cake. Brilliant video. Really enjoyed that. I'm very intrigued, and I know that ground-based vehicles don't get a lot of views on this channel, right? It's always aircraft and all the really high-tech stuff. But this is also my bread and butter right here. And so it's something that I feel like I have a bit more knowledge and a bit more understanding about, and I really enjoyed that. I know Task and Purpose have a video on the JLTV. I'd love to watch that as well. But if you haven't, go over to Military TV, link down below, give them some love. Absolutely brilliant video. Genuinely really enjoyed it. Let me know, have you seen one of these in person? Have you driven one? Have you seen the inside? Let me know in the comment section down below. I'd love to know your thoughts. And until next time, I love you all. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.